Protecting the president. These are the stories you never knew. A rioting mob surrounds President George Bush Sr. in Panama. Al-Qaeda targets President Clinton in Pakistan. And a lone wolf takes aim at President George W. Bush in the former Soviet Union.
A hand grenade was tossed at the President of the United States.
Now, for the first time, special agents relive these high-threat events.
Yeah, my heart was racing.
Dealing with the most important man, the most powerful person in the world, absolutely no margin for error.
Each Secret Service agent is ready to make the ultimate sacrifice.
I'd rather be dead than labeled a coward.
You owe it to your country to try to stay alive.
It was Friday. It's a beautiful sunny day. I was a shift later, and our shift was to fly with President Clinton on Air Force One to Cincinnati for a fundraiser. Routine trip.
But then the Secret Service gets word. The King of Morocco has died, and President Clinton must attend the funeral.
That's what's interesting about the Secret Service. I mean, here you are, you think you're going to Cincinnati. You end up flying 3,000 miles to another country for a funeral. And it's all at the last minute. Don't even blink. Where do you want me to go? Let's do it.
Special Agent Robert Rodriguez was about to confront the most dangerous and difficult assignment of his career.
Probably the most high-risk thing that I had experienced in the Secret Service. In 22 and a half years of serving as a special agent in the United States Secret Service, there are moments that we feel vulnerable. Probably the greatest moment was here working with President Clinton for King Hassan's funeral.
This was no ordinary memorial service.
60 heads of state showed up for this funeral. And not only President Clinton, former President Bush, Yasser Arafat, Jacques Chirac, kings, queens, presidents, ambassadors, ministers. Extremely problematic, absolutely.
Dozens of world leaders walking a 3.2-kilometer procession amidst a massive crowd. Thousands overwhelmed security. Any of them could be armed with weapons or explosives. For Agent Rodriguez, ensuring the safety of President Clinton is an almost impossible mission.
King Hassan was highly revered and highly regarded by his people and people outside the country of Morocco.
كانوا الناس مخلوعين وكانوا الناس كتبكي. هذاك النهار ما كيتنساش للمغرب كاع كله هوانيه.
تصبنا بزاف زعما كون بحال الوالد بزاف تصبنا.
ويبكيو البكاء راه يعني الناس كتنعس في الارض يعني سخفوا بزاف.
When they opened up the doors of the palace, it basically opens up to a sea of humanity.
On the ground with Agent Rodriguez, Special Agent Rich Staropoli.
At the time, I was with the counter-assault team.
The counter-assault team is the Secret Service's unseen muscle for situations that warrant rapid assault and lethal force.
The function of the counter-assault team is to identify, locate, and neutralize any threat.
Today, threats are everywhere. When heads of state show up, so do fanatics, terrorists, and assassins.
We knew we were going to find ourselves right in the middle of it. The only thing that spins people up more than a religious conversation is the death of their leader. And when their leader happens to be a religious icon, that's the makings for something really bad to happen.
Rodriguez and his Secret Service agents assess the risks and request that the president only walk for part of the funeral procession. But the president has other plans.
President Clinton wanted to show his respect and reverence to the king, and so we took that 2-mile walk.
They were really good about trying to be flexible because they knew I liked to be with people. They knew I liked to stop the motorcade and any foreign country and just get out and walk the streets.
This may look like a typical boulevard on an ordinary day, but on July 25th, 1999, imagine over 2 million people hanging in balconies, open windows, rooftops, sitting in trees, emotional, screaming, crying. It was a 2-mile procession from the palace to the mausoleum.
A 3.2-kilometer walk that challenges all known Secret Service tactics and procedures. The thousands in this uncontained mob are unscreened and present a potential threat. Guns, dirty bombs, suicide vests could be hidden anywhere.
It only takes one person. It creates great risk for us.
But the mission is a go, with no time to secure the route.
Knowing that we're not going to have the counter-assault team in place where we need them, the emergency motorcade where we'd like to have it, the counter-sniper team effectively doing their advance and counting how many windows exposed to the president, how many of those windows are open. We had none of that.
And as the funeral procession made its way through the streets of Morocco, people were coming out of the woodwork. There were people all over us. 2 million people doing anything they could to get close enough to that coffin.
The most obvious danger is never far from their minds.
If the people are that emotional and there's millions and they all rush to the casket, potentially could be trampled.
I came more and more to value what they did, the risks they took, and the risks they avoided. So if they weren't around, it would be harder to do the job as well as riskier to do the job.
The job of the agents protecting President Clinton is getting riskier by the minute.
There was nothing holding these people back. They were free to roam and fill the streets at their will, and that's exactly what they did. And in the middle of it happened to have been the President of the United States and one of the former presidents of the United States, neither of whom were very well liked in that region.
Shift leader Agent Rodriguez takes up various positions to scope out potential attackers.
At one point, I moved out in front so that I could watch the rear coverage of the shift and also have a better vantage point of the whole situation.
While Agent Staropoli fights to stay on task.
The counter-assault team travels in a vehicle within the motorcade. So now you have a big decision to make here. Do you stay in the truck and basically run these people over to get to where you need to go, or leave the truck, abandon your vehicle, and walk? And that was the decision that we made. We left the driver with the vehicle, split the team, and then continued to parallel the president on foot.
At one point, they started to come over the barricades. That was very concerning.
You can't be afraid to lay hands on people. And at some points, that's exactly what you're doing in a crowd like that. You need to physically move people out of your way.
I'm thinking, where do we put the president? And the only place that I saw that had a potential opening and maybe some coverage was underneath the casket. This is when you start to get desperate. You're going to put the President of the United States underneath a casket?
The evidence is overwhelming. It's time to stop this walk.
This is no joke, and certainly when you're surrounded by 2 million people who are whipped up into a religious frenzy. it just got worse and worse.
Rabat, Morocco. U.S. Secret Service agents Staropoli and Rodriguez face one of their most dangerous security missions: protect President Clinton from an out-of-control crowd.
In Morocco, was just, you were walking through the middle of a prison riot where you didn't know what was going to happen.
For President Clinton and the agents sworn to protect him on this 3.2-kilometer walk, potential danger is all around. Sniper on the rooftop. Terrorist with a bomb.
You're dealing with tremendous unknown. You've got to focus on what you're doing, who's around you, and make an immediate decision, is this guy a threat or not?
But sometimes you just have to make a dangerous situation work.
It's not the Secret Service's job to tell the president he can't go somewhere. It's our job to adapt and get him in and out of there safely.
Adaptability is key with 2 million potentially unscreened people closing in on the president. And the mausoleum still 800 meters away. Agents Staropoli and Rodriguez are fighting heat and exhaustion.
We're dressed all in black, to include black boots and a load-bearing vest. So total weight of each counter-assault team operator is approximately 50 pounds of gear. Very difficult to deal with something like that.
These agents are under tremendous strain. But one thought remains constant.
The one thing about the mission, I've never met an agent that ever second-guessed whether he would take a bullet for the president. I'd rather be dead than labeled a coward.
Agent Rodriguez and his officers are ready to make the ultimate sacrifice. When they reach their final destination.
After a 2-mile walk in about 100-degree temperatures, we finally made it to the mausoleum where you can see behind me, King Hassan is laid to rest. And I recall walking up those stairs and how bright the marble was with the sun illuminating on it. It's a definite sigh of relief because this was an enclosed, protected area. We were inside. We knew this was the end, and frankly was pretty pleased that that was the end of that part of the day.
We fully expected something bad to happen. Whether it was going to be somebody fires a shot, whether it's at one of our protectees or just in general, fortunately it just never came to fruition.